where all opinions matter. Once again, welcome to Stropinion, where everyone's opinion matters. Tonight I'm on the loan, so my opinion is what will be heard. Feel free to comment. Leave me a message. First of all, hope everyone is staying safe, making good decisions and choices. If you don't have to, don't go out. Stay home. If you do, 6 feet, face covered, then get back home. Let's try to work together. Let's work with the scientists. Let them do what they do, and then we do what we do. But right into it. The talk of the sports world currently is the Last Dance documentary, which I've been enjoying thoroughly. Some background. I'm born and raised in Chicago, currently live in the suburbs of Chicago. But I was 10 years old when the Chicago Bulls drafted Michael Jordan. And I've probably seen every game he's ever played for the Bulls. I probably can count on my hands the games I've missed in his career with the Chicago Bulls. He was my favorite player instantly as a kid. Now when we were growing up, I think my dad was a Laker fan. You didn't have many teams coming on television, on broadcast television back then a lot. So you would see the Lakers, the Celtics, and Philadelphia 76ers sometimes, and the like, and it was like regional or whatever. So the Bulls were terrible. So I remember like Reggie Theus a little bit and those guys. But 84 is when I really started watching basketball, and I was hooked to the pro game. So my love for the college game developed later. But I remember watching like the North Carolina game. I was a Georgetown fan because my dad was a Georgetown fan. And no one knew who Mike Jordan was. But he hit that shot. So, all of the discussions again have arisen again about who's the greatest of all time. Now, those of you who follow me or listen to me, you know that in my eyes, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. And I always have reasons why. But I was thinking today, first of all, like, his skill level was elite. Like, he had the skill. Like, it took him a little while to get it all together, but like, he had all the skill. And then with that skill was the highest level of artistry. I mean, artistry at that point we hadn't seen yet. People didn't jump and stay in the air that long. The things he would be, how he would look doing the things that he did. And so we had seen artistry before. We seen it with Dr. J, who before that point, no one had seen that type of artistry. But now Michael had the skill at an elite level and the artistry coupled together. So that in itself, he respected the game enough to learn the game fundamentally, all the fundamentals. I don't know why I couldn't say that. And a lot of that had to do with going to college. Guys went to college back then. So he was fundamentally sound, and he was an artist. So not only was he getting the job done, but you liked watching him get the job done. So he was an elite as far as skill was concerned, and then the artistry, and then he was a defender. I believe Michael Jordan may have been, all his years with the Bulls, besides maybe the first 2 or 3, I have to double check that, but he was not only all NBA, but he was also always like all defensive too. 87, he won the MVP and all defensive player. He was defensive player of the year that year too. What a year that was. Oh my goodness. What he did to the NBA that year. On both sides of the ball. So, like skill wise, which is obvious, but sometimes they don't point out the artistry. But another thing that I thought about Mike again was that he had a desire to get better. Like, it seemed like Mike was getting better by the day, not by the season. Like from game to game, it seemed like he was just getting better at what he was already good at. So I remember the Olympics in '84 when they were having this, these exhibition games against NBA players, because at that time, a lot of us know that they were just amateur athletes playing in the Olympics. We didn't see professional athletes until '92 after the '88 team lost, And so in '84, that team with Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, Chris Mullins, I think maybe Pat was on that team, maybe. I can't remember. I was 10 years old, but I do remember Michael Jordan, like looking at him like, man, and all of us were like, my goodness, where's this guy? Because, then we were just so thrilled with the way he would get to the rim and dunk the basketball or just stay in the air, the pump fakes and while he's in the air and that kind of thing. It wasn't seen. Like you would see some of it with Dr. J, but because Doc was kind of lanky and, he didn't do it it didn't look like Michael. It looked like Michael took what he had and like ironed it out, so to speak, took all the wrinkles out. But this is before he played a game in the NBA, and he was playing against these guys, and the way he caught up to the speed of the game that quickly, it started to raise some eyebrows. Bob Knight, and I'm paraphrasing, even said that Michael Jordan was the best basketball player he had ever seen. He hadn't even played in the game yet. So that's why I'm wondering, are you really saying that Michael's not the greatest because you're emotionally attached to something else? Or are you watching what he did? Like you see his skill level. There was nothing on the floor that he couldn't do. There was nothing that he couldn't do on the floor offensively. Even later on in his career when he added the three-point shot to his arsenal, there was nothing that Michael couldn't do. And so you watch, as we're seeing now, we're being reminded of the steps that he had to take to get to the top. And some of these young guys saying, well, he lost in the first round. Well, LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first 2 years. I mean, so it doesn't matter either way. Michael Jordan just said he'd never not make the play. He'd take the team to the playoffs every year, and he did. Bulls never missed the playoffs. And he would also address every critique. There were critics and would say he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. Like they were worried about his jump shot and all that kind of thing. He became probably the best mid-range basketball player, the mid-range shooter ever. Because they said he couldn't shoot. And guys weren't shooting threes like they do now. If a team, I remember in the 80s, if a team shot 20 threes in a game, it was unheard of. As a team. Now you got guys shooting 23s, one guy shooting 23s and missing 17 of them. That happened this year, 3 for 20 from three. Amazing. But there were no holes in Mike's game. Defensively either. He would guard whoever. He did whatever it took to win a game. He was only interested in winning. And so early on in his career, he thought he had to be that guy to take all the shots and we're seeing that now in the documentary, and those of us that witnessed it, we knew it. But as his game, just like that, everything progressed in his game. Even his mentality, the way he approached the game, the way he led. because once he tasted victory, that was it. And he I mean, it was a hard way there. It was a hard way there, and a lot of people don't respect the road there. Now everybody just wants to get there. You know, you don't see that sort of journey anymore. No one wants the journey. So you got to respect that about Mike's game too. Like all the bumps and bruises he took. And when with his team, there wasn't a whole lot of free agency besides Dennis Rodman getting there. Now, when Dennis got there, I said, the Chicago Bulls are not going to lose. I said the Chicago Bulls would lose 12 games. I said that before the year started, once Dennis got there, because no one rebounded the basketball like Dennis Rodman. But back to Mike and his skill and his artistry. That in itself separates him, if we're just talking about ability. Now, the closest guy to that was Kobe Bryant. Carbon copy. Like, skill-wise, oh my God. He studied Michael Jordan's game, and he accomplished. Everything Mike could do offensively, Kobe could do it. And he would look good doing it, but he didn't look as good as Michael Jordan doing it. And that's where the artistry comes in. But like effective, like the way he approached the game, his footwork, the way he studied his opponents, and how he was so mechanical and methodical about the way he approached everything that he did in the game. He's my number two. He's my number two. Kobe, I have a critique. One thing that, you know, with Kobe, I remember in Game 7 in Phoenix, I think that was 06. And I don't know who that guy was. I mean, I was ready for him because I was a Kobe guy. And back then I was like really invested. I was like a big time fan. I'm not that way anymore with the game, but I was a big fan. And so, you know, nobody liked Kobe Bryant in my circle. So, you know, they thought he was arrogant, and he was. I used to tell him, like, I'm not gonna eat a Happy Meal with the guy. I don't know what he is as a person. I'm talking about what he's doing on the floor, and he's destroying all of your teams. And so when he had all the success with Shaquille O'Neal and him and Shaq, and then now that I can take some arguments with, you know, best duo ever. You know, Kobe and Shaq are my best duo. Scotty and Mike are next. But just because I'm talking about like talent wise. But best player ever, greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, hands down. But in that Game 7 in 06, and Kobe was, because now he's taking the bumps and the bruises by himself because Shaq is gone. And in that Game 7, like after he played so well in that series and he's answering critics, now he wants to prove something, in my opinion. In that second half of that game, when they lost like that, he looked super regular. I was upset with him, so that, you know, that was a strike on his record for me. Because when you're that good, when you're talking about the best ever, and we're pointing out guys in the top 5 ever, you have to be meticulous. And then when you honestly, you start to point things out. That's one of the things that come out about Kobe. I can't find anything like that with Michael Jordan in his game. Never. It was always all about winning. Period. It was always about winning. Nothing else mattered to him. And that's why he came off as a jerk a lot. Because to him, it was just about winning. And now you're seeing some of the things that some of us do already, but he competed at everything. And he did not like to lose at anything. So because he had all of the physical attributes that come with the package, you know, 6'6", big hands, long arms, determination, athleticism, he was fundamentally sound. So skill-wise, so someone's talking about he's not as skilled as LeBron. What are you talking about? He is. Way better. LeBron's a robot. He's a robot, but an effective one. Like, he can't be stopped. No one can stop him. But LeBron shuts himself down. Like, he's been to the finals 9 times and he's won 3. 2 with one team, 1 with another. He's played for 3 different teams. Well, 4 now. Because he played for Cleveland twice, Miami, and then now in LA. Now, I will say this. I'll stop here for a second and go back to my point. But I will say that I was interested in seeing what LeBron was going to do, because it seemed like after Kobe's untimely demise that LeBron was playing differently. Like the way he was approaching games was different, unless he was playing the Clippers, and then he wouldn't. He looked different against the Clippers. It's like, I don't know what Kawhi, I don't know. He just seemed like he didn't play hard, or seemed like the expectations that were surrounding that kind of build. But I was interested to see what he was going to do, because he looked like a different guy. But like of all time, no. Michael Jordan's resume it speaks for itself. He took the journey, took all the bumps and the bruises, and he got there. And he would always address every critique. He couldn't shoot. Next thing you know, he could shoot. He didn't like playing with his teammates. Next thing you know, he was a good teammate. I remember there was once that they would say Michael Jordan wouldn't pass, and one of the years in the 80s, and I think the last 10 games of the season, he averaged a triple-double, because they say he wouldn't pass the ball. Just to quiet them. But Michael Jordan's a scorer. But anything on a basketball court he could do. I can't say the same thing for LeBron. Like, LeBron wasn't as skilled. He's as effective, I could say, because he has that one thing like Shaq. Like, Shaq wouldn't, he wasn't Hakeem Olajuwon, but he couldn't be stopped. So LeBron's the same way. When LeBron James can't be stopped. No one can stop him if he wants to go to the basket, to the rim. But what troubles him is that he's like the most random superstar ever. Like, he doesn't have any moves. And you guys have heard me say this before. LeBron doesn't have a go-to move. He doesn't have anything that he can say, hey, I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to use this. He didn't have the fadeaway like Mike and Kobe had. He didn't have the triple threat like Carmelo Anthony. Vince Carter with the fadeaway. Just something you can go to, you can count on down the stretch in a close playoff game. Like, I've seen him hit big shots in regular season games. On a Tuesday night on TNT. But like, I've never seen him walk into an entire playoff, as I watched Mike do, like an entire playoff, and just dominate, like unstoppable. And once Mike tasted victory, there have been guys like Isaiah went to the championship the first time, he lost. Then he won the next two. It was amazing. The Pistons, that team was like a defensive minded, super physical, but hey, don't get it twisted. Isaiah Thomas can play basketball. And so that's another thing that came out. They were talking about, I'll get to that later. But Michael Jordan's the best, skill-wise and artistry. And Kobe Bryant is his carbon copy outside of he doesn't match his artistry to that degree, but he was better to look at. Kobe was good to look at. So I was talking to, while I was reading some stuff on social media, and the guy, he's had this conversation with me before personally, but it wasn't my post, it wasn't my event, but he brought it up again. He says Mike played against nobody. He says Mike and Jordan are the same player, but Mike never played anybody. That's why he was so successful. I'm gonna give you 25 seconds to let that sit in. The guy said that Michael Jordan played nobody. He didn't play against nobody. When they finally beat the Pistons, that was the conference finals. The Pistons were still good. But Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls were better. They were better. And he beat them. And now he wanted to beat Magic in the finals. They lost game 1 and won 4 in a row. 92, they came back just as dominant. Once he tasted that victory, he never left it alone. He retired and came back in baseball shape. But when they said he had lost it, he came back in 1996 and destroyed the NBA. MVP, first team All-NBA, first team All-Defensive, Finals MVP. And I think he won the Finals MVP 3 years in a row. I think he won MVP 2 times. I think. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, in his championship years, Charles Barkley won in '93, and then Karl Malone won in '97, I think, or '98, one of the two. Karl Malone got one in there somewhere. But Mike literally could have like 7 MVP trophies because he did win that one year when he won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. I think that was '87. Because what he did to the NBA in '87, he just didn't have the teammates that he needed to get to the next level. And then his mentality hadn't shifted yet. But once he learned how to dominate and still have his teammates and they found the way to do it, he never stopped doing it. So when you talk about like LeBron, like I can get with some cats talking about Kobe, I mean, because Kobe was just like him, but, he's with Shaq. Shaq was incredibly dominant. So it's like, Mike was always the guy on his team. And it was like undoubtable. It was no doubt about who was the best player on the team since Michael Jordan was a sophomore in college. There's no doubt about it. So, like, those are arguments with Kobe, that I would go through because he played with Shaq, Shaq was the best guy on the team at that time. To some people. So people argue that. Not to me, because skill-wise, Kobe was. But like the way Shaquille O'Neal dominated the NBA during his 3 championships with the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh my God. So, Kobe had the thing with Phoenix. And then he also, in 2004, with the Los Angeles Lakers, the way he played in the NBA Finals, trying to prove himself as the best player, that's why they lost. And Rasheed Wallace was killing them. But Mike doesn't have any blemishes on his basketball resume. People get emotional and start bringing up other things, like the things off the court and now the things that are coming to light. But man, this guy said Mike didn't play against anybody. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, Patrick Ewing and the Knicks, Reggie Miller and the Pacers, the Miami Heat with Alonzo. Are you kidding me? I mean, Seattle probably won 60 games. Utah was even favored one of those years in the finals. If Michael Jordan's not playing, Utah wins 2 times in a row. Charles Barkley has a ring in '93 if Michael Jordan's not playing. Mike's the best ever, fellas. People. Who's ever listening, he's the greatest of all time because it's about winning. And he's 6-0, and he was the best player on that team every time. I don't know what else to say. And if we're talking about individual skill, no one is as skilled as he was, like everywhere. And then you couple that with the artistry, and then the perfect build to play basketball. Kobe's close, but Mike's the greatest. Now, when you talking about like Michael Jordan compared to LeBron James, to me, that's not even an argument. Not to me. Now, don't get me wrong. LeBron James is a great basketball player, but he's not as skilled, and there's not the artistry. And he doesn't win like Mike. Like, I'm not talking about like hitting a big bucket on a Tuesday night, game 47. I'm talking about game 7. Well, Mike never did that in the finals, but game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals or something like that, he just seems to tighten up. It's because he's not a great free throw shooter and he doesn't have a go-to move. So I'll be the passer. People say it's like, oh, well, he's like Magic. Yeah, well, Magic was a pass guy. But he was also a winner. Ask the Celtics about that short skyhook game. So what are all the NBA players saying? Who do they call the greatest ever? Like the majority of them. Is it Mike or is it LeBron? Right? You have, and then sports writers who sang it, who've experienced it. Like you got these shock jocks and, you know what I mean, Shannon Sharp, but those guys seem to be emotionally attached to LeBron because LeBron is a great guy. Like no scandals, still, high school girlfriend he's married to, beautiful father, family man. The way he takes care of his community, the way he speaks out on social issues. It's a great guy. So I guess that's why people are so attached to him. You don't see Mike and Kobe they didn't speak out on social things. I think Michael Jordan was so incredibly concerned with his image that he just wouldn't speak on things that would seem controversial because it would bother his brand. And that's something to talk about. But millennials and younger, there was a different time back then. There was a different way you had to walk, to be successful in that way. And that's messed up, but that's the way it was. LeBron has changed that, and it's so dope that he has. Now the player has the voice, and they should use it. Do the right thing with it though. Like the way Paul George left Oklahoma City was whack. Now, competitive wise, like Kevin Durant left, but he was a free agent. His contract was up. Go anywhere you want to go. Anywhere that we would sign him in. Hey, I'm going to go to State and win me a couple of championships. Then I'll leave. That's what he did. He would have had 3 if he doesn't get hurt. You know what I'm saying? He would have had 3 of them if he doesn't get hurt. But now we'll see what he does in Brooklyn. He's a heck of a scorer. But skill, nobody. Because Michael Jordan paid attention to every detail of the game. Footwork. What hand should I be using if I'm dribbling on this side? And the other side of the ball, this guy likes to shoot right here. Let me see if I can get him off balance by putting him on this side of the, run him off this side. Nobody ever practiced harder than he did. So all of this, and he's the best player in the world at the time, and he's practicing hard. He just want to get better, and he got better. He won 6 championships. Sheesh. People concern themselves with the wrong things, and then they wrap themselves up with the wrong thing. I don't hate LeBron James. I actually root for him because he's such a great guy. But then I think I get frustrated when a guy is that, he shows that much physical prowess over everyone else and then doesn't use it to his advantage. And sometimes it's because he's a good guy. And you got to be a real killer to go get it like Mike and Kobe did. That's why people call him the best. I mean, Isaiah's not saying it now, but he said it when they beat the Bulls in the 7th game. He said Mike was the best. Changed his tune after, the next year when they got dominated by them. They didn't think it would be that easy for the Bulls, and he paid a hefty price for that. Now, should he have been on the Dream Team? Yeah, of course. But he paid a price for listening to Bill Laimbeer. He paid a price for that because he didn't play on the greatest team ever assembled. Christian Laettner did. Chris Mullin did. Isaiah was definitely the second best point guard in the NBA at that time. Now, this guy said, I had a guy say that LeBron James was the best passer in the history of the game. I said, are you 30? Because how's he the best passer in the game? You forgot about John Stockton, who leads the league in assists all time. And then, you LeBron guys are big on stats. And that's another thing. They always talk about, like, he has more points than Kobe and Mike. He doesn't have more points than Karl Malone. Is he better than Karl Malone? Is he better than Karl? So then Karl's the greatest player until he passes him. Karl has 36,000, almost 37,000 points, almost 15,000 rebounds. But I would never say Karl Malone was better than LeBron James. But those are the kind of things you guys go off of, stats. Because when you don't have that, when you don't have like the resume that Mike has, like he's unblemished in the finals, then you bring everything else up. Kobe says this. He says, like, I'm not who I am without Mike. What? But you're still going to say Kobe's the greatest of all time? You know who I'm talking to. It's Michael Jordan. The best ever. Now, off the court, oh my God. LeBron is, come on, head over heels better than like any. Like Magic probably is the only one that matches him in that regard. That superstar level. Shaq's a great guy too. I met Shaq. Shaq's a good guy. But ask Shaq who's the best player ever. He's probably not going to say LeBron. I don't really argue hard with people that say Kobe. But Kobe wasn't the best player on his team from day one. Mike was. Day one. No, Kobe could have. If Kobe would have went to school for like 2 years in college, I think he would have been another thing. Like he would have been just as good, but I think he would have just been received better because he would have, he would have went there and got humbled a little bit. He would have dominated college, of course. Like LeBron James is the guy, like, there was no reason for him to go to college. Like absolutely no reason for him to go to play basketball in the NCAA. No reason for that. But Kobe probably could have used a year or two. And I'm a Kobe fan. I mean, I loved Kobe's game. Again, he's my second all time. If I had to pick like my top five, someone asked the other day, like top five at every position that I watched play, my point guard would be Magic Johnson. 2 guard Mike. The 3, I could pick 3 guys there. You can pick Scotty, for defensive purposes and be, Scotty's the best 2-man ever. He's going to do everything else. He's going to guard your best guy. You can pick LeBron, who's just like, the best utility knife ever. But he get kind of scared sometimes. So that's probably why he wouldn't be on my team, because he gets scared. Or Larry Bird. I'm probably taking Bird because he can shoot. And he's a killer. And he was clutch. And he can rebound. And he can pass. Larry Legend. At the 4 spot. I'm taking Tim Duncan. There's nothing that he couldn't do in the post. And he played defense. And he was intelligent. And he listened. And at the 5, I'm taking Shaq. Yeah. Those five in their prime. I'll take anybody. Those five in their prime. Yeah. 80s Magic. 90s Mike. 80s Larry. Tim Duncan in 2000s. And then Shaq in the 2000s. Yeah, they'll beat anybody. Anybody. So, let me be clear here. Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. Kobe is second. And then, on a good day, I'll take LeBron. Because listen, you have to be good to score that many points, to play that long. I mean, he's a specimen athletically, physically, rather. He's been to a lot of championships, but so is Jerry West. So, I mean, yeah, he's probably, yeah. I don't know if he's my 3. I don't know. Because, I'm thinking about Magic. Magic has 5 rings. He dominated. I mean, Kareem had the most unstoppable shot ever. He's got 6 rings. I don't know. But there's no doubt about my first 2. I mean, I don't have a doubt in my mind about my first 2. So, once again, those are just my opinions. And this was wasn't as organized as I wanted to be as far as the podcast is concerned. It'll be better next time. So if you listen to this, thanks. I welcome your comments, all of that. But once again, this is Stropinion, where everybody's opinion matters. Peace. Thank you for listening to our opinions on the Stropinion podcast.